So I guess you and Melissa can add people.
Yeah. Between she and I, I'll keep an eye on it.
So I'm going to share my screen. This is a very unstructured look at just some polypores from around here, and also how to use the looking for places people have marked out on iNaturalist if you're going somewhere and you want to see if you can kind of pregame your hike, especially for fungi. And what does that mean? So we're going to find out. I feel like it's a very Wisconsin thing. We're going to pregame the hike. Okay. So now I just have up our 2021 project. So this is now not over. The year is over, but people are definitely still uploading things, and there's a lot of identifications that we can get through, which I definitely need to step it up. I think I'm going to start like logging in every day and kind of like making it a habit, like see if I can identify one a day. That'll be maybe the challenge. We're at about a fourth identified so far. We're at research grade, and that's actually pretty good because there's a lot of really interesting stuff. People have been observing a huge amount of observations, so thank you so much to everybody who has been participating. I'm going to go ahead and actually view all so that we can see everybody.
Go back to that Rushla. That was not Rushla declarans.
Okay. It's been uploaded in the past few days, but thank you, Davis.
That one jumped out at me for some odd reason.
Let's check it out. It's a very striking photo. I'm not familiar with this species, so you're gonna have to tell us. So yeah, let's have a diversion. Before polypores, this is not a polypore, Russula or Rushula. And what are we thinking? Why do we think not copper brittle?
Russia declarans is not that. This is like Rushla fulvescens.
Okay.
Yeah, so Rushla declarans is going to be more on the red side. That's okay. I'll go through the iNaturalist stuff if you want to and make some corrections.
Oh, sure. I'd appreciate that. That's great.
And it's definitely not in subgenus Rushla. This is going to be in subgenus Declarantis.
Okay. And see,
another time.
We will do that another time. So that's a great example of information we can share with each other in this. And it's a really nice photo, so there's a lot to go based on. What was I doing? Oh, we were just going to look at everybody who's in the project this year. And you can still join this project if you want to, if you are in, if you have photos, observations from this past year, and you join iNaturalist, or you're already on and you join this project, all of your 2021 observations that you put up will just add to the project. But here's everybody who is in and their observations. And you can always like go to people's profiles, and it's fun to see what everybody has seen and what else they're interested in too. There's a lot we could do with like ecosystems and fungi, with people who have other interests like bugs, moths. Anyway, so I was going to show off as well the fact that we have an upcoming trip, a foray, a surprise winter foray. You may have gotten an email about it. You'll get another one, and that's going to be to the Storrs Lake area of Milton, Wisconsin, in and around Milton, Wisconsin, and that's near Janesville. So we're going to be mostly focused on polypores, but I first just want to show generally what you might search for if you were going to go out on a hike, like to Storrs Lake area, and you were wondering what to expect, maybe what you might be likely to see. So a lot of people on iNaturalist and Mushroom Observer have like demarcated specific regions. I'm not exactly sure how the feature works on Mushroom Observer yet. I haven't gotten it to work, but on here I have. But some people will often have done it for you. And if you just search the name of the place, and a lot of times wildlife, the actual name of the wildlife area is better than like Milton, Wisconsin. Search Storrs Lake wildlife area, and it comes up that somebody's made an area project. So now I can view the observations.
We're not looking for polypores.
And because that's gonna maybe take a while to load, I'm actually gonna go to the tab that I already had open. My computer is not very quick, unfortunately. Anyway, so you can see this, and I could make the map zoom up and see exactly what they have decided includes the Lima Marsh Stores Lake Wildlife Area. But you can very quickly, so I already had it narrowed down to fungi, but you could see all life, and you can see all the list of species people have seen, and these are going to be at all times of the year by default. And then if I narrow down to things that have been specifically identified as fungi, including lichen, I can see what people think they have seen. I'm actually really glad that Tavis spotted a incorrect identification, because this will include needs ID too, and it will include research grade observations that aren't right. So it doesn't necessarily reflect everything.
I think I see two more errors also, but that's unimportant. Set me up with it. I'm still doing Mushroom Observer. I still prefer that venue, but set me up with a way to come in and edit this.
Sure. And we should definitely trade notes, because I really want to learn more about Mushroom Observer, but I've kind of just not, probably same inverse situation basically. But I was just kind of showing this off because it's once you get the hang of looking for these areas that people have blocked off on the map already, and a lot of like natural areas have been, it could be a really fun way to go on and kind of get your expectations set for what you're going to see. Like you might notice this one with the exclamation mark indicating that it's an introduced species. It's not native, the golden ratio mushroom. But that's not a polypore either, so I think I might go ahead. And Tavis, if you want to jump in at any point, he's going to be the foray leader at the this Sunday, January 23rd hike to look at polypores. And there's some things that we might see that aren't polypores. Sternums are not polypores, but we may see some of them. I was also going to show some resources that you can use besides this. But first, if you wanted to narrow it down, can I spell? I cannot spell. That's what I just searched. Okay. Let me see if it's just on the sidebar. It is not. That's great. Might also just be that the search isn't necessarily working for me. So instead, I was going to show some of the species that we might find if we look in our project, which most observations in our project are in Wisconsin, and most are southern Wisconsin, though not all. So if you were interested.
Hey, Mariah.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Go ahead.
David Tapke asked, did I hear something about iNat showing introduced species? And does it do this automatically? No,
it doesn't do it automatically. As far as I'm aware, unless they maybe had a basic list to start, maybe just imported from some authority. But no, this is done kind of, if you think about like how Wikipedia is made, that it's made by people introducing data to it, or editing it rather. You or I can just go on and suggest that a species is introduced, and then somebody who is volunteering enough to be a curator, I think they call it, approves or does not approve your marking it that way. So let me see if I can actually bring up there is all, like Wikipedia, kind of, there's, like Wikipedia has an editing record. The site, there's oftentimes, if you know how to look for it, a record of, I'm probably not going to be able to get directly to the page from here, so I'm just going to go ahead and search for golden oyster mushrooms. Else how to show that, because it's a really cool question, and a feature. So, I actually should have gone to the about. So you can see here on every search, that's a great way to show something that trips me up every time. There's a about of review observations, and it'll take you to this page, review observations, and then there's about, which actually takes you to the taxa page. And this is where you'll see a flag for introduced. They also have flags for endemic, which is a good thing. So introduced is generally a bad thing. Endemic meaning it's local to this area and it probably doesn't really occur that far beyond your area. It's special to your area. And you'll see that as a banner sometimes too. And that's also suggested by people. So if I had wanted to maybe suggest that they were wrong about this, I might flag for curation.
Play it by ear, or
then I would say, I think this is native. And this is wrong, but if I were to send it in, somebody who was a curator would kind of adjudicate this, would decide about this. And what you really should say is maybe like, I think the top photograph, you can give them suggestions about the way that the page is being curated. And then you can say things like, you could link to your evidence, a scientific paper that you think proves that golden oyster mushrooms are actually native. They aren't, but this little flag for curation here.
Right, who's making those decisions then, and how are they chosen?
I am not 100% yet familiar with the process of people being chosen. As far as I could tell, it is very similar to Wikipedia in that if I do a lot of work on here, maybe identifying things and people know me, and then I say to the people who are already curators, I would like to be a curator. Please look at my portfolio of work on here. And maybe I could share other things, and then they would just kind of vote on it and admit you as a curator. That is what I think is
interesting.
Going on.
Yeah, interesting. And MO is not that dissimilar as it goes by how many observations you've made, how many species you've identified, things like that. It's a point system. Not necessarily perfect, of course.
Right.
But yeah, just a curiosity. Thank you.
No problem. It's interesting, and I'm actually trying to get back to the page I used to know where I could. There's a lot of ways if you know how to use edit the URLs of your search to figure out how to get to pages that they didn't put buttons up for in an obvious place, but curators can get to. And if you just know how to change that, you can do it. But I've forgotten. I've bookmarked it somewhere. Anyway, I was going to show off actually some. Why don't we switch to some Polypore content? I was going to show some resources you could do. So this is MycoGuide, which I've shown before. And there's a whole interesting page on polypores. This is by Patrick Laycock in Chicago. And this is something I would suggest to people who want to come to the Sunday hike to kind of go through. And it is going to be with a lot of general focus on polypores, but also, Patrick's in our region, so there should be a lot of species highlighted here that you might see when we head out on Sunday. So definitely I will actually put this in the chat, and then I'm going to show another resource. And I unfortunately are going to have, that's not the chat. Okay, weirdly enough, I don't think I can actually get to the chat right now. So, I'll do that later. Instead, I'm going to bring up.
There was another question in the chat, and And if, Mariah, if you don't know this, maybe we could, put an SOS out to some of our other well-versed people. But someone had asked if there was any documentation for like bioluminescence in Mushroom Observer, or possibly is there anywhere else that anyone might know about?
Documentation of bioluminescence. Well,
yeah.
Like, you can make a project. Oh yeah, cool. Okay, so you can make a project about just about anything, and then it's up to you as the curator of that project to make it of high quality.
So just below that, there's bioluminescent fungi, specifically under organisms.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So it seems like somebody has made a project just to collect everything they've tagged as, and by tagged, I mean they've gone through and probably added individual species to a list that they're saying, I want these to come into the project or something like that. Not really sure how they're doing their project, but they've definitely got a lot of jack-o'-lanterns, as in Omphalodus civiludens.
Our species here would be Omphalodus illudens.
Yes, because that one is southern, and then there's western on the screen.
Olivescens is western.
Is western, sure. So we're illuden, and that would be east.
Subilludens would be the southeastern United States.
Great, and they probably do have. Oh, I do wonder how they're getting observations for this project. Sometimes people are hand adding them whenever they choose to. You can look if you're curious about a project. So if this comes up to the observations of the project, it doesn't come up to like this the project page. I think that's because of how I clicked it. So I'm going to search again. I would hit about to get to their actual project, but I'm going to actually select the fungi page. There are also projects people have made on here and just never followed through on. This one seems to not be so bioluminescent fungi. A collection of bioluminescent fungi. If you hit read more, you can see how they've built the page. So this one has they've built it by listing every species this person believes should be included. And that could be cool if you were quickly looking for bioluminescent fungi, maybe for a school project, for whatever, your own personal edification. You could use projects people have already made for you as kind of a starting point. Anyway, I was just, oh, that's the wrong tab. Great. Okay, so I was gonna look at some species we might see at the hike. So I'm going to open up this area again and narrow down to fungi. So the first polypore that I see is actually this one, but we're probably not going to see this unless it's completely frozen in ice, like something preserved, because this is one that's going to be very squishy and go away. Actually, I don't know whether ceramic parchment is or isn't. I'm gonna check that. Anybody who already knows can chime in before I figure it out. There were a bunch of different crust fungi that actually were in the family. So that's, if I were curious, I would go onto the page and then look at taxonomy. And then I would find out that no, it's somehow in Russell.
The Russolales.
Yep, wild. That's our ceramic parchment. So this might be one we see. This is an example of something that we could see at Storrs Lake on the Ice Age Trail, but and we will survey it, but it's not a polypore. Going further, sternum, also not a polypore. Termetes. Yes, this is a polypore. And to look at what we're talking about, and just as an aside, I had read, and I don't know if you got anywhere with this, Tavis, but I had read that the trail that we're going to be on has a good amount of oak. And then I went to go look at pictures that people took along the trail, and it seems like there's birch as well.
Okay, I have not been to this location yet.
No,
but if
there's not a ton of birch.
Okay.
Okay, birch and aspen there. We're going to see some tenacious polypores like in Trametes, Philinus, Ganoderma, but you're going to see some other odd things like Plegatoropsis, certainly Sterium and other crusts. It's not just Polypores. You could even see some frozen agarics while we're out there. It's just, it's a chance to get out in the woods for a day and try to document everything that's there.
Yeah.
These are the things that get overlooked in between July and September when we're doing our regular fungi species surveys. A lot of people don't look up and see, Philinus tremuli on aspen because who cares? It's around all the time, and they get neglected in these surveys.
Yeah, and then also a lot of them blend in with the
Patrick
bark.
says look for glue crusts. Absolutely. Oh yeah.
I love. Are you talking about the green cheese polypore on here?
No.
Or
alder glue, where it's sticking two branches together. Patrick had found a few specimens in Cable last year. What a fabulous fungus! Yeah, that was new to me. And I think
Brooke loves his alder glue.
Yeah, and by the way, I shot
okay,
some
Brooke
great
found it,
footage
whatever,
of that. And there's going to be a new video on our YouTube channel just on alder glue. It's coming shortly, so stay tuned.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I got some nice pictures of it as well, but I think the last two forays. Oh, here you got Hydnoporia right here. That's a different species.
Is
than
it? Okay.
What we had.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what came up for glue crust
yeah.
fungus. So we might see that one too.
Certainly could. It'll be eye level or at least above the ground.
Are they in the same? Is the species you were looking for in the same genus?
Yeah, it was Hydnoporia, and I don't remember the epithet. And there might have been a look
because that's really interesting.
Tabasina. Hydnoporia Tabasina was
You discovered that one, right?
That webpage link has the different names for North America.
Okay. Here's some different ones in this genus. And this is what you're talking about. Tabnacina.
Yeah,
okay,
Tabasina was the name that I remember from Dr. Patrick. I don't I know there was either a synonym or a similar species. I don't recall that one. But yeah, we saw it in Cable, we saw it in Hiles. Both places was fantastic.
I have seen this, I feel like, or something quite like this. And does it have kind of a soft texture?
No, and actually,
it's very hard.
I think this is an inaccurate photo.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that might be misidentified. Only I would call that a different. I mean, that's a different crust here. So the Hydnoporia.
That photo's in Europe, so it's probably okay. We don't usually see the well-developed crust where we are.
Is there a reason for that?
A different climate, I guess.
I guess so. Maybe a lack of moisture. I know that in Europe there's a lot more moisture. You can see the different
pictures of these things on my webpage that I put up.
Yeah, and Patrick's talking about mycoguide, which I showed already for polypores. But if you're ever looking for like a mycoguide for resource and you want to see if it's on mycoguide, a really easy way to search for it is whatever you're looking for. So like, let's say I put in Hydnoporia and then I put in mycoguide. That seems to be a quick way to get things that come up on the webpage. And there
Mariah,
it is.
I'm just going to drop in real quick on you and let you know it's about 5 minutes out for.
Okay, great. So in this very scattered presentation, we didn't get to talk a ton about everything. I had so many tabs open, my computer actually crashed before we even started. So I'm going to have to maybe make something to send to everybody instead so that you guys can get ready and be available for going out and seeing some polypores in the winter if you can handle it. And our first foray out like that is going to be January 23rd, this Sunday, Stores Lake area. We will send an email. There's also, Tavis is going to do one up in the north woods too, if you are closer to the north. And of course, you can just kind of join us in spirit and go out in the woods in your own area and be sure to get a way to put the photos up somewhere if you do document. Anyway, I'm going to get ready to introduce our speaker.
We are Wisconsin Mycological Society. Check out our website and social media. We're an affiliate of the North American Mycological Association.